Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our complete set review of Modern Masters 2015. I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm still Brad Nelson.
Yeah, all day.
Every day.
Every single one. And here we
Except
are.
Sunday.
Because I don't like that one either.
Yeah.
But I don't like Mondays, personally.
Oh, see, Mondays I just spend all day driving. It's probably worse than your Mondays.
You know, I think in some world I wanted you to say, tell me why.
Why?
You don't get it. And we're right back to our journey jokes. Okay. Where I like a bunch of old music. Regardless, we're here to talk about all the red cards in the latter half of the multicolor cards in the set. We were going to begin with Banefire, a card that kind of blew a lot of minds when it was first printed. Everyone was just like, what? You're making a fireball uncounterable? Oh my god. And by a lot of people, I mean me. But it's I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I think the artwork is absolutely amazing. Yeah. Ryan Swanland is the same guy who did Wormcoil Engine. Like, he's an amazing illustrator.
Wormcoil Engine is kind of my jam.
Yeah, dude. The card is unreal. And so Banefire is super, super sweet. Very, very powerful. One of the best fireballs ever printed. Absolute game ender. Easily splashable. Something that you want to splash for because it's so powerful. And just takes the game by itself.
Yeah, no, it was a great removal spell, a great fireball back then, and fireballs are always great and limited, especially in formats like this where you don't want the damage prevented or countered, and you can always guarantee that it's just going to happen. Yeah. So you can like play to it often. So I love the card. Yeah, I mean, sort of once you sort of start that countdown of I have 6 mana, so I know I'm at least doing 5, and there's nothing you can do about it. You get them to fit. You get them. You know, you take 15 life out of them, and then you finish them off. Yep. Super, super good. Easily first pickable. Very, very powerful. Blades of Velas Veil. This is a cool card. This is great in the aggro deck. This is exactly what the aggro deck wants to be doing. Especially because there's a lot of evasion in the black-red aggressive decks. Like we have the 2/2 Bloodthirst Flyer. We have the 3/3 for 2 that has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Right. So you can definitely just like spray the board, send a bunch of guys, and get 4 damage out of this card. At just 2 mana, it is very powerful. Yeah, and then sometimes you can just play to make your 2 things Spirit, so you can Devour and Greed. Yeah, you go. Or Devour and Greed, right? Devour and Greed, baby. Devouring-Greed.deck. Don't play this for Devouring Greed. Play it because it's great and aggressive. Blood Ogre, your 3 mana 2/2s that can be 3/3 first strikers. Card is powerful. Yeah, very good in the aggressive decks, and we're going to be saying that a lot. So play this card. Color, like I feel like red. We should just go play this card, don't play this card, play this card, don't play this card, and this is a play this card. This is a definitely play this card. This card is very powerful. It's not. You don't want this card in a slow deck. You want this in a I'm beating your face as fast as possible deck. And that's where a lot of these cards are going to be. Bloodshot Trainee. Yeah, now we pump the brakes. I don't actually think Bloodshot Trainee has a lot of things to do with it in this set. This was a card that was really cool. There's a lot of weird little combos. There's a lot of cards just like Blades of Velas Veil that we saw a second ago that can make this 4 power. When you get it to 4 power, it's crazy powerful. When you get those equipment, like there was that one, the Carapace that gets them +2/+2 and it can't block. This card is kind of bonkers at that point. Yeah, a lot of the equipment actually will make Bloodshot Trainee work for that. Darksteel Axe and stuff. Yeah. Yep. The Slither, the Snake one. Yeah. I mean, like, all I'm saying, the Living Weapon one. Yeah, it doesn't matter because if you have that piece of equipment and you play Bloodshot Trainee, you will make them use a removal spell. They have to kill it. They absolutely have to kill it. This card cannot live if you can pump it up to a 4 power. They just can't deal with it. It's unbelievably powerful in that regard. And sometimes you just play it and you have no way in play to do anything, and next turn you can play your equipment and turn on. You can brute force. Like, not only will brute force protect it from some removal spells, but then if your opponent ever plays something like a 4/4, you can just brute force your guy and then kill it, and then it turns it into a removal spell. Absolutely. So like it slices, it dices. Like they try to nameless inversion it, and you brute force it. Like that's super powerful, and you're able to have like a really, really powerful advantage. So this is a subtly powerful card. It reads kind of weird. But if you can turn it on, man, holy cow. And speaking of brute force, card is so the Red Giant Growth. I've always loved this card, mostly because it's a Red Giant. I'm not going to tell that long story. I've already told them these before. Fine. I just like call shotted it once at a Pro Tour in a deck. They had one of it, and I was like, I'm going to name this version guy now in case you have brute force, and they had the brute force, and I would have taken 14 damage. Right. Yeah. So you made a pro play. I made a pro play, and you did well. Yeah, congratulations. And it was one of the last ones I made for a while. You're on that sort of cliff, and you're just like, whee! But regardless, brute force. Would you say I was free falling? 80s music. Are you making Tom Petty jokes on me? Yeah. Don't act like you making Tom Petty jokes and I don't get them. I do. That's right. I didn't even know who Tom Petty was. Don't come around here no more. All right, so brute force. I'm serious.
Oh
I
God.
have no idea who Tom Petty is.
Oh
Is that Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
yes.
Okay, I
Dude,
did know
Tom
that.
Petty is one of the best songwriters. Oh my God. You're hurting my
Whoa,
soul,
whoa, whoa,
dude.
whoa,
You are
whoa,
hurting.
whoa, whoa,
I'm a
whoa,
music
whoa,
guy.
whoa, whoa. I'm gonna let you
He's
finish.
one of the
but
best songwriters of all time. Come on.
I
Go
thought-
back and look at his greatest hits, dude.
I thought that was like Kanye.
My favorite joke
Drake?
is Kanye should have a greatest hits album that has every track he's ever done on it. That was my favorite. All right, so Brute Force is a red giant growth. I know it just sounds just like a red giant growth, but the fact that it is in this color, you don't need green for those types of pumps.
Yeah.
You can play mono red, red black, and still have this effect is very, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we would all just like lose our minds if they made like green deal 3 damage to our creature or player.
Oh my God.
We would lose our minds.
Yeah, we would.
Because it's a color
flip.
pie shift.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing in Planar Chaos. And I mean, that's super cool. And it's what made Time Spiral partly so super interesting in the fact that Future Sight did like the most insane crap you've ever heard of. Look up Spellweaver Volute if you really want to like have your brain go.
Yeah, I mean, Time Spiral block, in my opinion, was the greatest block Wizards has ever made of all time.
Well, and that's sort of what they see is that the enfranchised players, the old school veterans, love Time Spiral because it was super deep, it was super self-referential, it was crazy complex, and that's the stuff that we love because we like that stuff. We don't need something that's kind of easy. We want something that's really difficult to figure out.
Well, it's not even just how it played out. It's just like how all the time stuff went. Like
it was a brilliant.
Yeah, I understand like cons, and then you go back and save the dragon, and then you got dragons, and that stuff's cool. But this whole storyline was like Teferi, like giving up the spark to make everything go well. And one set was all color shifted, and then the next was all time shifted, and it was all just awesome. I loved it.
I loved it. And so here we have Brute Force of it in the new frame, and that's not the first time. I think they printed it in like a dual deck or something, but it doesn't matter.
Well, Time Spiral was new framed.
I'm not talking about this card in particular. This had that weird shift whenever they color shifted a card, like harmonize.
Well, they were white text.
Yeah, they were like white text, and they had the weird whatever. Regardless, it looked a little strange, but the power remains. Card is crazy good. You pretty much play every copy you got. If you're in red, this is a great card.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Absolutely fantastic. If you're in red, this is a great card. Play every copy.
Play it every copy. Yep.
Draw it. Draft it early. Its removal. Its kicker is fantastic. It's great.
There's nothing more to say about this card than play every copy you ever draft.
Every copy you see.
It's great.
Draft
removal.
everyone you see. Combust, not quite as much. One of those cards that was...
It's a sideboard card.
It was, it's printed for the sideboard. Now, obviously, it's going to be good in sideboard for limited, but it was also for things like for things like
Deceiver Exart.
Deceiver Exart, thank you. Like that's what it's ultimately doing in terms of like why this card is being reprinted, because that's a really good sideboard card against the Splendid.
I mean, except Rending Volley just invalidates Combust, right? Like there's no 5 like Baneslayer Angel is like the only card that you could really see wanting to kill that doesn't because it has 5 toughness compared to 4.
Sure.
Rending Volley is just a better Combust now.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, obviously you're kind of stuck where you can't print that card in the set. But again, this is very modern oriented, and maybe they hadn't even finalized that card before they made this decision. Who knows? Comet Storm, Mythic had to be for limited reasons.
Well, yes,
like,
because it's worth it.
It's bananas.
Just read that and just think about how awesome it is.
Cold Stone Nutter Butters is what this card is. Nuttery and buttery. I mean, it just kills everything, destroys everything. It just nuts.
Yeah. For like 7, well, let me do the math. For 7 mana, you can deal 5 damage to anything, or 4 damage to 2 things, or 3 damage to 3 things. It's just super powerful.
Yeah, it is dumb. It is
really,
really
I used to play this card in a block deck back in the day with like Lotus Cobra, Oracle, and Fetch Land. So like if you could just generate a ton of mana, and sometimes you would Common Storm just for like 8 or 9 and deal like 6 to their board and them. Common Storm is unbelievable. Will push you into this color because every time you draw it, it's like on the level of Profane Command.
Easy first pick.
Yeah.
Definitely puts you in red. Definitely a card that can chain, like can put you into red after like pack 2 or something. You open it in pack 2, you're like, all right, fine, I'll take this game-winning bomb. Yeah. Because it's crazy good. That's how good it is. Dragon Soul Knight is a fine card. Ultimately, like, here's what always happened back in the Shards days when this card was played. It was in the aggressive decks because it's a 3-mana 2/2 first striker. That's awesome, and that's all it ever did. And sometimes, every once in a while, you might see someone get close to being able to use that special ability.
Yeah, but you had like Vivids, and Vivids were so much better than it was Vivid Lands then, right?
Vivid Lands were not in Shards. Vivid Lands were from Lorwyn.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Now they had the obelisks, like obelisk of Bant and that type of stuff. I mean, again, you had multicolor enablers, and you had like, the border posts. You the border posts? Those things were neat.
And tri-lands.
Yeah. So again, there were times when I actually saw this activated, not against me or whatever in any games I ever played, but like for me, it was a 3-mana 2/2 first striker, and I'm totally okay with that. You're in red black, you're in mono red, whatever. Like this is the type of card you always play. You're not going to play. You
can play it sometimes because there are like Bloodshot Ogre or whatever is like better.
Yeah. I mean the Bloodthirst guy is better, sure, but like that doesn't mean that it kind of totally invalidates this card. It just means well between the two of them, and you only can play one. You're going to play the Bloodthirst one.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Fiery Fall, basic land cycling, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
that's why this card is great.
Yeah, I mean that. It is why it's in the deck. You want it for the 5-color decks, but I don't really. I'm not sold that these 5-color decks are going to be that good in this format.
I'm not sold 5-color decks are going to work at all. I mean, a few Sunburst cards and that Dragon Soul Knight.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but like this is a good card. It's great for when you want to play a splash because it is 6-mana removal. That's decent, and sometimes when you have a splash, it can just be your 2-mana fixer. So it's not a bad card. I do like it. It lets you aggressively splash a 3rd color if you have a couple of these. Since it is removal in the late game, and you can play like up to like 4 or 5 of your splash cards and play like 1 or 2 of the mana for it, and then you have these to help out. So
yeah, I love this card. I mean, back when we sort of first saw this card, it was great. It helps fix your mana and it helps remove a creature late in the game. I mean, when you have a card that does both, and it's not like if it didn't have basic land cycling, we wouldn't be over here talking about how cool it is.
Yeah.
We'd be saying like, well, if you really need removal and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter because when you're not at 6 mana or you don't need removal, but you need that color fixing, this is the card that lets you get there.
Yep.
Which is always super sweet. Goblin Fireslinger. This is the one drop that you want in those really aggressive decks and the Bloodthirst decks.
Yeah, this is the Bloodthirst enabler. Like of anything, this gets you there because you don't have to deal damage through their defenses. Like you just get to hit them for 1 and play your creatures.
Yep, and this is the card that when you get multiples out can legitimately win games. Like can start to like just pick away at them. You get an evasive guy in there and pick away at them. Like all of a sudden the Fireslinger's starting to look really, really good.
Yeah, they have to
scary.
race. You can't defend against this damage. Like,
right.
You can't just put a bunch of walls up. So you have to start racing the aggressive decks when they have Goblin Fireslingers in play. And that's usually why the aggressive decks get to win, because they have to stretch their resources thin.
Right. And unless you have a reason like, a brute force or something you want to get through, don't attack with this guy. Don't.
There's never a reason, yeah.
I mean, unless, there's some weird pump spell thing you're doing or whatever. But
yeah, if they have like 2 blockers and you have 2 other creatures and this and you have the brute force, yeah, you can attack.
You're going
to. It has to be very obvious.
There is a very narrow set in which you actually want to attack with it, but you really probably should.
No.
But it's still very good in the deck that it wants to be in. Goblin Warpaint, also amazing in those black red decks, man. They put the pedal to the floor, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, they had to. Like the set has so many powerful things, and yeah, red. What are they going to give red? Like elementals? Like that's gonna work.
Meh. I mean, like that's sort of what they did. I mean, this is where it kind of harkens. It starts looking more like the cube stuff, where what does mono red do? Or what does red do? It's the mono red just get you deck, and it gives you a lot of tools so you can do that.
Yeah, and these have to exist, right? Or the format's probably going to be like revolving around whoever has the most Eldrazi. Yeah. So you need the aggressive decks to keep all the really slow, dirty decks out of the format.
Exactly. You need to, sort of like rock, paper, scissors. You need something that makes them be punished to try to play all their 9 drops and 10 drops or whatever they're doing over there. You're like, yeah, that's great. Goblin Warpaint, get you. Card is good in that regard. Gorehorn Minotaurs. Oh, man.
It's great. We've already seen that 3/3s unlimited are fine at 4 mana, but when you get to make this a 5/5 for 4, it's just bonkers.
It is bae-nay, and it is fantastic. It is exactly what you want at the top of your curve of your mono red deck or your black red aggro deck. Like getting this as a 5/5 is big news. And
you're also going to see that this card is kind of bigger than most of the green cards. Like green doesn't actually go over the top of this card, which is kind of crazy. Green's kind of all over the place. I think green is not a base color where red is a base color in the set. Right. I think green is like this weird it helps enable all these cool things.
Right. It's supposed to like sort of attach to everything else and sort of make everything else better. And red is like, I'm just going to kill you as soon as possible. You're just going to die. You can pick this card early. Multiples are great. Obviously it goes well with Fireslinger and whatnot. This is the card you want to ramp into. Super powerful and you'll love it. Gutshot, another enabler for Bloodthirst. Very, very versatile. Goes in every deck. It was one of those, it's not always an auto-include for every other deck, but in the aggressive decks, it's very good.
It is probably, it is one of the weakest cards. I'd rather have Shocks.
Absolutely.
Like, it does help with Bloodthirst on curve, but Gutshot's going to be situational. I don't know if you play it all the time because it is such a low-impact spell. Like, Gutshot didn't really see a lot of limited play
sure.
When it was around. And we're gonna see that because, like, yeah, sure, you have that like idea that it's gonna kill something in the early turn and get value, and then you just draw it when your opponent's at 13 life and they have like 3 guys in play and they're all big, and you're like, this card does nothing for me.
Yeah, it does absolutely nothing. But I think also, like, in that environment, in the Scars environment, it wasn't that good anyway because mono red wasn't pushed, or red black wasn't pushed like it is in this set. Whereas I think this type of damage for those decks is more important to happen versus when you got it back in the new Phyrexia days. And I think that to me is the difference. I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's kind of low impact, but when it does impact, it's big.
It's also Todd Anderson's favorite Magic card of all time.
Seriously?
Yeah, he loves it.
Jeez. Hellkite Charger.
This card is so good.
It's a freaking dragon. It's great.
No, it's more than that. If it attacks them next turn, they get to attack twice. This card just ends games. It's just like the first dragon that just was like, you're dead if you do not deal with this immediately. You die. And yeah, this card is busted. Play it. First pick it'll push you into an archetype because of just what I said. Like, you attack once, and then what's better than attacking once a turn? Attacking twice a turn. That's right. Unless you don't have any creatures and their opponents are attacking you twice a turn.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you can just, all right, and then untap it and then get you.
Yeah, just deal 10 with itself.
Like, I'll just deal 10 with itself. I'm okay. Just take half of it with this dragon.
Well, it already took a quarter before, so
I know, right?
Hopefully that
already had
was
haste.
somewhere.
Right. So hopefully you had 15 in the middle of all that, and they died really quickly. So
and you could sack some drones and stuff and maybe do it in one turn.
Gross. Look at you in your Christmas land.
It'll happen. Someone will have that story.
Putting that Santa hat on, like throwing out the candy to the kids, and then Hellkite Chargers.
That's my candy. I'm not giving away my candy. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I see what you did there. Incandescent Soulstoke, as we discussed, there are elementals. It's a kind of a weird little thing they put in red. Why? Because sometimes red just is like, it's just like kill you, haste creature, burn spell, creature pump, whatever. And then it's like, well, if you've got Incandescent Soulstoke and then you get Horde of Notions and, a fairy visits you on your shoulder, and then like a bag of money falls out of the sky.
Why are we even playing Magic if all this is possible?
And then the whole world starts turning upside down.
Doesn't it already do that all the time?
It really does. We're on a rock hurling through space right now. I don't know if you knew that, but that's what we're doing. So of course, other elemental creatures you have get +1/+1. That can be a thing and sometimes matters. And sort of also kind of helps you legitimize playing cards like Smoke Braider that we'll get to in a little bit, so the 1/1s turn into 2/2s or whatever, and you can pick up more elementals, and the changelings get a little bit better because there was some in other colors.
Muldrifter's an elemental, if you didn't know that.
Is. It's insanely crazy good. Yeah. And it also lets you put an elemental, it lets you put Muldrifter into play for 2 mana.
But then you have to sacrifice it.
I know, right? But you don't have to pay 3 mana to do that.
That's true. And you didn't even get haste.
All right. So you get to pin him for 3, draw 2 cards, put it in the plane.
Seems like a good day.
Seems all right.
Yeah, I'm okay with that turn.
Didn't even have to use my AK. Inner Flame Igniter. All right. Well, this was cool. I remember this card. It was really neat. Obviously, again, it's a mana sink. Mana sinks are very good. Creatures you control get entire bonuses, which is great. So you can play 1-drop, 2-drop this guy, and then next turn, if you don't have anything, you can still pump 3 mana into it and get bonuses for everybody, and that's awesome. Yeah,
and there's another one that it combos with later on that we'll get to. I don't remember the name. It's the one where it gives trampled to creatures, and then if you played 3 times, you get 8 mana out of it.
Right.
So if you have, like, let's say you just have 7 mana and play, and you have both these creatures in play, you can go give this creature trample, give this creature trample, give this creature trample. It triggers, you get 8 mana.
Right.
And then you pump this 3 times.
Right.
And then your entire team gets +3/+0 trample first strike.
Right. But you'll need 1 more mana after that, though.
Your 7th mana,
7, So whatever. It's cute. There's all sorts of combo-y, elementally things that we're kind of getting into now. So that's where you're starting to see the real synergisticness of the elementals, not just put all the creatures in the red deck and just turn them all sideways. Like, they can actually do things together and work together, and that's kind of a neat angle.
Yeah, except they're not like the goblins where they hate working together.
Correct. No, these guys are cool. They hang out. Kiki-Jiki, Mirror Breaker.
Speaking of goblins that don't ever help out.
Speaking of artwork, I don't really like.
You don't like this artwork?
No.
I mean, it is really bad.
I really hate it. I really wish it was the old artwork. I like the old artwork a million times better.
Is he having a blistering Firecat? Is that what's going on here?
I don't know what he's doing.
It looks like it.
He's living in a blister Firecat world. He's covered in flames. He's a man with, I don't know what's going on in his hands. I guess those are leather straps or something.
He's fighting Rocky right now.
He
copied Rocky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a cool card. Obviously, it's a very powerful card. It's a mainstay in Modern. It's a card that was reprinted because people need copies of this card because they want to play Splinter Twin and Kiki-Jiki decks. you know, it's
even
fine.
though Kiki-Jiki kind of fell out, I think they had it in the cycle. And,
I know, and then they were like,
no one plays with Kiki-Jiki anymore.
wait, and it's like a Mythic, so it's a Mythic slot, so there's that. It's also Mythic because it's nutso unlimited.
It is very good. Limited.
It's crazy good. It allows you to just at any point in time, even when you play it, tap, copy your Mold Drifter, draw your cards, tack for 2, and the next turn you can keep copying your Mold Drifters.
That's pretty good.
Am I wrong?
But you might deck.
Oh man.
Him 2 a turn isn't that good.
Because that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just the Mold Drifter hit.
Yeah,
Just
we're
good.
drawing all lands.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah, no gasoline.
Land, nothing else.
Yeah. Nothing to keep that fire going.
Yeah. So just think of all the cards we talked about and all their crazy into the battlefield abilities, and then you just keep getting them.
Yeah, this interacts with many of the cards that we forgot about already.
Shut up. Rolled. Lightning Bolt.
This card's not good.
It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing to me how this card is always ends up like $2 or $3 because they've reprinted it a million times. It's been printed in like, I don't know,
It was
like
even
10
common
sets
in
or something.
It was even common in the core set, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it was common in that core set.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. It's always worth money because you never play one Lightning Bolt. There's
need
that.
4.
Yeah, you always need 4, and everyone needs them.
Well,
if
it's
you're playing
playing
in a red deck.
It's playing in all the mono red decks, all the Jund decks,
Yep.
all the Splinter Twin decks,
Yep.
all the mono red decks in Legacy, all the Delver decks.
Yep.
Like, or no, is it played in Delver? It is, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 in Delver decks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's just played everywhere.
It is the most efficient burn spell ever made. This is all the way back from Alpha, and you know you just like it was great. It was always been great. They brought it back in what M10 or whatever, and everyone was just like, oh my god! And as a result, no matter what the rarity was, it always turns into a $2 to $3 card. Always.
Just everyone needs 4 because there's a deck in every format that it's legal that plays it.
Yep, you always need them. You need a play set. Get you a play set. Always. I mean, if we have to tell you, play it, draft every copy you see. You don't not play it.
Yeah. I don't know what you take over it either. It's just so good.
It's just as efficient as they absolutely get. Skargan Firebird.
Poor Firebird. Down to an uncommon.
Yeah, this was, I mean, it wasn't that good anyway.
No,
and
it was really bad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And it was just like, they finally started making they made Chandra's Phoenix, which was great. And then the current one, what's the current one?
Flamewake Phoenix.
Flamewake Phoenix, yeah. So like they're starting to make Phoenixes that don't totally suck, but this was still in the suck era. And it's not super good. It's okay.
No, it's not even okay.
It kind of fights with itself because like you don't want in your 6th drop to have to hit them at that point because at that point you have 6 mana and you're on turn 5 or turn 6 and
it's not good.
Like you're not gonna play Goblin Fireslinger with this card. And if you are, you're probably doing it wrong because
it costs 6 mana.
Right, because you have your 6 drop and you have your 1 drop, and one of these things they're trying to do 2 different things, but this is trying to work with that first thing, but it's not. It doesn't.
Yeah. Bad card's bad.
Bad card is bad. Smash Smithereens, not bad. There's a crap ton, as we well know, of artifacts in this set. So I would actually argue this is very close to main decking.
Because it deals 3 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because not only are you going to smash whatever it is to smithereens.
I don't get it.
Me neither. But it's still very good, and it's still always going to get that bonus. I mean, I feel that you're going to easily have targets in basically every matchup. Somebody's going to have an artifact for something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't like main decking cards like this in power-driven formats, but it is a great sideboard card.
It's a fantastic sideboard card. But, I mean, you know, because you can be paired up against, like, you know, a red-black aggro or whatever, and they're not going to be really running a lot of the artifacts or whatever. But man, when it's good, it's really good.
Yeah.
It wrecks people. There's your Smoke Raider.
I think the reason that I haven't seen this is I looked through the set once, and then I started doing those like draft simulators or sealed simulators, and I just never opened one.
Sure.
And like I looked at 10 or 15 sealeds and just never got one, or maybe I just passed over because red sucks, and I was just like looking at all the sweet cards.
So here's what you do: you play this on turn 2.
Yeah.
And on turn 3, you play a land, and you tap your 3 lands, and you tap this guy, and you get 1 guess at what you're gonna play.
Horde of Notions.
You got it. Because you're going to have a mountain and a forest and a swamp, and then you're going to be like...
Were you actually making the Mull Drifter joke?
Yeah.
I know. I was just making sure.
I like how you verified the joke, just in case people didn't get it.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
So one of my first pt2 top 8s ever was the Seal format.
Okay.
And in the top 8 draft, my deck was pretty bad. It was like a Merfolk Fairy hybrid. I was like not happy with my deck. But it didn't matter because my opponent was this guy that everyone at the draft but me wanted to qualify.
Okay.
They just like it was up in Canada, and they're like, this is our guy, and none of us want to go to this tournament, and this is him.
Wow.
So they just funneled him the elemental deck.
Oh, for God's
I'm not
sake.
kidding.
Oh.
He just went turn 2 Smoke Braider, turn 3 Shriekmaw or Muldrifter, both games, and just slaughtered me.
Wow.
And then everyone left. They're like, scoop, all right, we're done. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not making the story up.
That is insane.
That was my top 8.
I finally top 8'd a PTQ. PTQ. I top 8'd states under this format, under the block format, and I was playing. What was I playing? Like fairies or something? I was playing Una, Queen of the Fae, so I know I wasn't playing Kithkin or something. And I played against the elemental deck in the first round of top 8, and he just smashed me.
Yeah.
He was the Smoke Raider into Shriekmaw,
Yeah,
into Horde of Notions,
so good.
into Incandescent Soulstoke to do this other thing. Like, it was just nuts.
Yeah,
and I got crushed.
So good.
Yep. Otherwise, so as we're kind of talking here, if you're elementals deck, if you're an elementals deck and you have that elemental stuff, like this is the type, if you picked up Horde of Notions super late and you have the Incandescent Soulstoke and you're lucky enough to get Mr. Drifter, blah 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 blah. Like, this card's okay. Otherwise, don't play it.
Nope.
Soulbright Flamekin. That was what I was trying to think of. Not Soulfire.
Yeah.
Soulbright.
That's what I was talking about too. Yeah, that makes all the mana.
Right. So if you're able to play it and pay into it, well.
But if you only have 2 mana up and it says resolve, so if they target the creature and your opponent kills that creature, you lose all that mana for the turn. It's a little feel bad, but it usually doesn't happen because you're gonna play around it.
Right. It goes on the stack, is sort of what he's saying. So you could pay 2 mana, and then all of a sudden this ability goes on the stack, and then let it resolve. 2 mana, ability goes on the stack and resolve. 2 mana, they kill it. You don't get all the sweet mana bonuses. So if you have 6 mana, it can turn into 8 mana. That's the thing with Eldrazi. It runs all colorless mana, which is a big deal, and makes all the red mana, which sometimes matters. And yeah, it's a really cool design.
Yeah.
I always thought it was really sweet and interesting. And otherwise, it doesn't matter because it's just a 2 mana 2/1 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You don't have to get cute with it.
No,
and play a bear.
And it still gives trample. So like in these decks that like the ones that are trying to beat face, like the 5/5 Minotaur for 4.
Yeah.
Giving that guy trample's pretty good.
Kind of a big deal. Or the vampires that turn into 4/4 lifelingers. That's a thing. Spike Shot Elder. Oh man.
One of the most busted limited cards of all time. This is where you want to be on your brute forces and your equipment.
Oh,
like
God.
activating this card in limited when it's not just deal 1 is just the most satisfying thing ever, because your opponent is just like, because the thing is, like, if you play this and you know you're going to equip it and activate it, and your opponent just draws and starts thinking, you already know it's alive. Like, like the first decision is kill the Spike Shot Elder, then think what you're going to do with your turn. But you know it's going to live, and you're like, what am I going to eat first with this guy? I
know, right? Because if you have any equipment, it's completely nuts. And if it's just dealing 1, it's still dealing 1. That's often a big deal.
It can win the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it is as good as red limited cards generally get. Easily first pickable, easily putting you into the aggro deck. Always play this card. It doesn't matter if you're like some weird green-red ramp thing. This card's great.
Yeah.
Every time. Spite Bellows.
Love this card.
Hey-yo. This card's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Like it has this 2/1 mechanic where it's just a 6/1 it's built in. You can play it, start attacking with it. If they ever block it, you get to kill something else. And for 3 mana, it does 6 damage. Like this, like Bathen Dragonfire has been a really great removal spell for the whole cons block.
Yeah.
And this is just a better way of doing that. Plus it's elemental. Like, the card's wonderful.
Yeah, it is super good. Coming and going. You're more than likely going to just evoke it most of the time, but every once in a while you get to play a 6/1. And they never want to kill it because it's going to 2-for-1 them in some fashion and normally take their best creature with it.
But they have to kill it because it deals 6 damage.
Exactly.
Woo!
This card is super good.
Yeah.
And you should
wonderfully designed.
Always play it. Splinter Twin. That's a card.
Yeah, this is a card that they put in this set just so we can have more copies of it, and everyone hates Splinter Twin, even though I like it because I win with the cards. Next card?
Yep. Sweet. I like it a lot. It's by the way, it's super good. Always play it, pick it early, and you're
Splinter Twin? No, Splinter Twin's terrible and limited. Never play it. You pick it for the money, sure, don't do that, but never put it in your deck. It's awful. It's a 2-for-1 automatically every time. It's terrible. Don't play it.
What?
Are you kidding me? Splinter Twin's terrible and limited.
Why?
Because you'd rather just attack with that creature than get 2-for-1 every turn.
Well, I mean, that just depends if you think they have a removal spell, right? Am I going to have to bring up
what?
Old Drifter? Dude. Look, there's plenty of the battlefield effects. There's plenty of powerful creatures you could put this on. I don't think it's an automatic never play. Fine.
Timmy Spike.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stormblood Berserker getting in there. One of the best aggro cards you could possibly get.
This is so much constructed play.
Yeah, this card
so
is
good.
sick. I mean, the fact that it can't be blocked set by 2 or more, that's a big deal. If it turns into a 3/3 on turn 2, that's a bigger deal. Like, this card can end games real fast.
And it usually did. And this is your spike shot thing, or the
fire
yeah,
slinger.
the fire slinger, yeah.
Yeah, fire slinger goblin. Yeah, that's exactly where you want to be. This is the card. If you have 2 of these guys and you play on like 1 on turn 2, 1 on turn 3, the game is almost always over shortly thereafter. Yeah. It's crazy good, crazy powerful. You want it in the aggro decks. You don't really want it anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderblust.
I love Thunderblust. This is a great aggressive card.
Yeah, this is where you want to be on the top. This is the actual top of your curve, which is 5 mana.
And I love how the first time it gets chump blocked and the second time is where you get the trample. It's just such a cool little unique thing.
Yeah, it's such a sweet like little ability that kind of, I don't know if it sort of sneaks up on them, but it certainly, it's almost always going to kill something, and then it's going to come back and going to be able to be a 6/1 at that point. It's going to be your ball lightning.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
I mean, it's very much like the old Zergo con leader, whatever, I don't remember his name.
Oh, Helm Smasher?
Yeah, Helm Smasher. It was Zergo Helm Smasher, like the first version of it. And yes, it has 2 different lives, and yes, like it doesn't die in your turn for the first time, kind of with Thunderblast.
Sure.
But it's still like we've seen Zergo. Like sometimes they just don't have a creature to defend with, and you just play it and kill them with it.
Yeah, if they're having an empty board, or if they've tapped out all their creatures, like, oh man, you have a field day.
And sometimes like this is a tricky play, so just make sure you're aware of it. Because there's like sack outlets too, you can play this in a sack outlet deck and play it and sack it immediately, so you have the ball lightning,
right? And
you get to just kill them with it,
which is a play you should know about and be aware of, because you can win the game that way. Tribal Flames, this is where you have that weird 5-color deck thing. We're going to see a bunch of enablers in green because it kind of helps you find lands and things, from that color. But ultimately, still a very good card, and even just in a 2-color deck, 2 mana for 2 damage in the black-red aggro deck is fine.
It's fine, but
it's not great. It's fine.
Play it if you have to, but I wouldn't if you don't have to. Like, this isn't a card.
I don't want to.
Like, if there's ever a time where I have a Tribal Flames and any other card, and I'm like, which one should I play? If it's not Surgical Extraction, I will play it every time.
I don't know if I go that far.
But it's pretty weak as a 2 damage spell.
It is very weak as a 2 damage spell. However, sometimes you just, you get those pulls where you didn't get a burst lightning and you didn't get a lightning bolt, and you sure would like to have something. Okay.
Redo.
Okay, yeah, sure, fine. It's not that good. Kind of crappy. Viashino Slaughtermaster. This was one of those cards that, again, Double Strike was seen as crazy good, so you can only activate them once. This one was a pushed card. As I recall, this is from Conflux. And, this was one where people were really impressed in terms of, what Double Strike was on at the mana cost it was at.
Yeah.
And it did absolute 0 in Constructed and wasn't even that great in Limited.
Yeah, I mean, in Limited, I still think it was fine. It's just a bear. It's not going to really impress you. Yes, we can put equipment or brute force to really help push it through.
Sure.
But I think in the aggressive decks, even if you're not playing green and black mana, it does deal 2 damage for a 2-drop, which is that's average.
Yeah.
So it's a fine Magic card, and it used to be an uncommon in a format that was much more different than this. And when you're this aggressive deck, you have to make sure that you have 1, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah, I mean that was a format in which basically to get black green in addition to the red was no problem. And this is a format where it's kind of really tough, but they have given you plenty of pump spells, Blaze of Veil's Veil, Brute Force, yada yada, to make this card kind of bananas. And when it's that good, it's great. Wildfire. This card's fair. It's not fair.
It's one of my favorite cards of all time.
It is one of the most.
I used to play
cards.
so many Wildfire decks back in the day.
Oh god!
And
Were you the Magnivore guy?
I was the Magnivore guy. I was the Annex guy. I was so every single one of those guys.
You know what I played? I played Paladin Onvec.
Yeah, we beat that a lot.
I know. Shut up.
Yeah, bounce it, Wildfire you.
God,
what you got now? No lands.
So hard. You were the worst. You were the absolute worst. There was a deck that did nothing but play Boomerangs and Eye of Nowheres.
And Eye of Nowheres.
And Stone Rain.
Demolish.
Yep. Freaking Demolish.
Tidings.
Give me a break.
Yeah, it was literally Magic back then was just kill land, bounce a land, draw 4 cards, kill land, bounce a land, Wildfire.
It was insane.
It was annoying, and it was great. Insane. I loved being that guy.
This card is a huge bomb. It completely wipes the board. All you need to do is get yourself in a position where you have 1 or more 5 toughness creatures, and then you more or less win the game because you've reset everyone down to a point where they can't come back.
Yep.
And the card is nuts.
Magic's great. Wildfire's great. We're great.
Magic was unfair. It's unfair. Enjoy it. All right, here we go. Another Phoenix that's meh. Okay. This is another one of those weird 5-color things. I don't think 5 colors really going to get there. It seems really bad.
This card's terrible. Can we stop talking about it?
Yep.
Sweet.
Wrap in flames.
Again, man, these W cards are getting bad real fast.
Good God.
This card is okay in the hyper-aggressive decks if you really need a way to get through the green decks, but I would not... I mean, I guess it does trade with the Spectre Procession, so maybe this card's actually good.
It seems okay. It was always kind of okay anyway.
Kills all the drone tokens.
Right. I mean, this is ultimately trying to get you through, trying to push through that last bit of damage, and this is the top of your curve type aggro card. And when they finally lay down like some huge monster, you can like get rid of a spawn, and then like those two big dudes can't block. That's sometimes a thing, but most of the time I like putting this in the sideboard.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I bring it in when I need it.
It does seem like it has a decent utility. I might be wrong about this card. This card might actually be good.
It's possible.
In the aggressive decks, just because like there's tokens, big green creatures you have to attack through, all the drone tokens that you don't want them to accelerate into certain things.
Spawn.
Yeah, the spawn. So like, I think this card might actually be better than not.
Well, because this is in a format, well, it was in a format that didn't have Eldrazi spawn, at least as I recall. Is this not like a Zendikar card?
I have no clue.
I can't remember where this came from exactly, but there was a point in time in which it was not against spawn, and being against spawn and having a format that is very much around 0/1s that things are making for free, this card gets a little better than it normally would.
Go cards!
Go cards! Necrogenesis.
Oh, I love this card.
Card's great. It's one of the grindiest cards, but it's
Do you
very
remember
powerful.
Farika?
Yeah.
And how when you took their card, they got a 1/1?
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't work with this one.
From a graveyard. Get it out, get it out, get
You
it out.
get to take any creature from any graveyard and make a 1/1 on your side. This card is busted. It was so good in the limited format back then.
It was
great.
completely insane back then.
Yeah, it's gonna be great in this limited format because the card is just good.
It's super good. I know it doesn't look that great, but the fact that it's two colorless that's a big deal. And like Farika, you had to play like black green and a colorless or something, wasn't it? Or black green?
No, just black green to activate. But
still, colored mana versus colorless mana.
Still, take their guy, they get the snake.
Exactly. Now you take their guy, you get the sapperling, whatever. But it doesn't matter. You get a dude from them and you. So whenever anyone's trading for the rest of the game, Necrogenesis is getting you two cards. It's just two creatures.
Too much value to pass up. The card's really good. You don't like a lot of multiples, but one is really good in like all the grinding matchups.
Yeah, one is just perfect and is a great long game card. Niv-Mizzet the Firemind.
Where's the flavor text?
That's what I was about to say.
I was just like,
Wizards.
Where's the equation?
Come on. Don't do that to us. That was one of the coolest parts of the card.
Yeah. What did it say again?
It was like, well, Niv-Mizzet equals 1 or whatever, but you had to turn it sideways to see it, and you turned it sideways when you drew a card, and you drew a card to deal damage to them, so it equals 1 damage. I mean, it was the full picture, guys. What are you doing? I don't like it. I mean,
well, I don't like that it's gone, but I also think the card's great, and I would love opening it.
The card's super great and absolutely pushes you in blue-red, and it's very, very powerful, and it's a dragon, and it deals damage and draws you cards. Come on, seriously.
Great.
But come on, Wizards. I'm disappointed.
I am disappointed in them, too.
Noblest of War. I mean, again, if we're talking about something that's 5 mana like Thunderblast at the top of your curve in mono red, this is where you're at.
Yeah, this is really good if you're mono red.
Yeah.
But it's like in this set you were just forced to play these powerful cards, but like in those colors. So like you open this, you're just like, I better get there, because you know your next card's not a different color unless it's at the same power level.
Right.
So
unless
like,
it's another bomb, you're in red white aggro, or you're in mono red.
This is the card like if you're red white deep in pack 3 and you get past third pick, you're like, thank you
so much. I love you. It's really good, and it's one of those cards that it's nice because it's like Horde of Notions. Like, if you're the Elementals guy and you're the only one that's been picking up all these Smoke Breeders and no one's been really paying attention, you can get this card past super late because no one can play it. And it's not worth that much money, so no one's going to money draft it.
Yep.
Pillory of the Sleepless. This card is super powerful and can end games. I saw this card in way too many games.
Oh, it ended a ton of games, but it was common back then, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And now that it's uncommon, it deserves to be uncommon.
It really did.
And this card's just so great because it stops a creature from attacking, but it also just puts a clock on them, and now they are forced to be aggressive. So, like, it was so good back in the day. I love it. Like, a lot of the enchantment and artifact removal in the set is based around how good cards like this are.
Yep.
Because they're just so good, and it can push you into a splash because it does deal damage to them. It's like what's that card? The 2/1 that you choose to either put a 1/1 flyer into play or give it +1/+1.
Oh.
I don't remember the name, but everyone knows Sandstep.
Sandstep something.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you would play that, and you would trade with a morph, and then you have this 1/1 flyer left over that attacks and just keeps dealing damage. That's what Pillar of the Sleepless kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pacifism with a sweet upgrade on top of it, and I know it doesn't look like whoever it's not going to end games. It's going to end games. I know it sounds dumb, but it does.
It does, yeah. If you can't get off the board and you can't kill your opponent, your opponent can lean on this card to win the game. Like your opponent can just trade
Stall
resources all the time, stall the game as much as possible.
Yep. And if this thing deals 4 or 5 damage through the course of a game, I mean that's
that's enough.
A quarter of their life total from this card. Not only did it stop one of their best creatures, it killed them on the way.
Yep.
Man, card is super sweet, easily playable. Plax Caster Frogling is sweet, another blue-green card that we talked about.
Wonderful card.
It's very, very powerful, which is sweet. It's really hard to deal with if you have any open mana. And if you are like the graft, type of proliferate deck, like this card gets even better.
And I just love the art.
He's so chill.
He gives none.
Just the 0. He's just, I'm a frog, dude.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, you got nothing.
You deal with it.
Yep.
Deal with
Ribbit.
Ribbit, bro. Restless Apparition. Okay.
Very powerful card. Extremely powerful card.
It's very good.
You have to be very dedicated to play it.
Yeah. You got to be mono white or like white black or mono black to play this card. This is not a card you splash for. This is otherwise just going to sit in your hand the whole game. You're going to be like, if I just draw one more plane, for God's sake. It's like
you play this when you're just mono white, mono black, or black white. Like
when you are,
you can't be any other combination.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It is super good. 3 mana 2/2 flyer, obviously, but the fact that it has persist means it comes back.
It doesn't fly.
Why? I always thought it flied because it looks like it's flying.
No, it just beats face.
I don't know what the hell it's doing in that picture.
It's just
dying?
chilling.
Is that something?
Well, it's already dead.
Right, and then it's all
spirit.
It's like, oh, so devouring greed?
Yeah.
Soul shift? The fact that it doesn't fly now, God, why do I always think it flew? I always thought it flew.
Didn't play this limited format much, did you?
I absolutely did, but whatever. I played this card. This card won me that Grand Prix trial I talked about.
This card won a lot of people lots of things. It was very good back in the day. It's still good. The art is great.
Yep.
It's way better than the old art.
That's John Avon.
Oh, yeah, John Avon's pretty good at art.
He makes a pretty picture, and I tell you what, man, this is a card that just wins games just by itself. It's a board sweeper. It's a board sweeper that you control. It's not just like all is dust where everything has to die. You're like, well, I have a 4 toughness and a 5 toughness, but I really just want to get rid of all their X4s, and so you just go for 4 mana, and you have your 5 toughness guy left over, and you win the game.
That sounds exactly how Savage Twister's been played forever.
Yep. And it's always been that good.
Yeah, no one has to teach you how to play this card. You'll figure it out.
You'll know what's happening. You'll draw it, and you'll look, and then you'll count your mana, and you'll be like, I want to win this game.
I can figure this one out on my own.
GG's, brah. Selesnya Guildmage. Oh, right here, dude. Right here.
It pulls those heartstrings.
It totally does. I love this card from the moment I saw it. It was brilliant. This was the first time they showed hybrid mana in the preview article.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. In Mark Rosewater's preview article, we talked about hybrid mana.
Man, you just remember every article from... I don't get how you remember who wrote what about what cards.
Dude, dude, look, man. When I went into Magic, like, I dove deep. I dove all the way.
I mean, that same here, but I just always just played with the cards.
Yeah, you played with the cards. I am a culture junkie.
Yeah.
And so I love the culture of Magic, and that's the whole reason I wanted to make the Magic show, because I wanted to highlight the culture of Magic, the way that people are treated, and the way that we do things, and the things that we enjoy, and the stuff that we get a kick out of in terms of, like, nicknames and, like, little tiny stuff that a lot of people don't recognize. And, like, this is a card that has an absolute ton of power level. It's great mana sink. It's right on the curve in a mono white aggro deck or just a white aggro deck. The green decks, they have all the mana they can pump into it. Like, this card's awesome.
It's so great because, like, just seeing the difference of that. I've always been the guy that, like, just as blindly just is doing this task even though I don't know. Like, I just, like, did really well at a GP that might put me close to Worlds. And then I'm like, oh, I can qualify for Worlds now. When and where is that?
What? You just kind of like blindly go win everything.
Yeah, I just know what's happening in the next 2 weeks of my life, and I just figure it out as I go.
Same, man.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. Card is great. Pick it early. If you're anywhere near these colors, it's worth playing every time.
It's a much better mono green card than a mono white card, though.
Yes, it is.
Because getting the 1/1s.
Because you make your team, basically. You can make a team
Johnny Finkel.
Woo woo.
Our second invitational card that does not have the art
God, at least
of the invitational winner.
At least this one is arguable that maybe that's John Finkel's lower jaw. That's all you got.
Well, see, do you know what these cards remind me of, and what I'd love to see you guys just to troll wizards for this is like to redo like some of the tokens that you guys have previously made of people, but just like if you redid my goat, just a goat. So we're bringing back Brad Nelson goat tokens. Yeah, it's just a goat.
It's just a goat, like lol.
Like Goat Simulator goat.
Oh my god. Yeah, so Shadow Mage Infiltrator, as a card, is a fantastic card. Is what you want in Limited because it gets past things and draws you cards.
Drawing cards is great.
And drawing cards is fantastic. If you want to be the blue-black control deck, this is exactly the type of card you want. And it's, I don't know, like back in the day, it was not very good when it was first printed. And even back after it was printed, like if you actually read John Finkel's preview article on the Mothership.
So great.
It was so good.
It might have been one of the best things I've read in a long time.
It was hilarious. And so he sort of talks about how his card was kind of bad and like he wanted a Wrath of God that untapped your 4 lands because that's fair.
Talked about all of his regrets and he's like, this is my favorite regret.
Yeah.
Making this my invitational card.
So yeah, Johnny Magic is this card. It's still super good and limited, and that's all you really need to know about it in terms of Modern Masters, because you're not really going to play with it outside of cubes or your fun casual decks or this limited format.
I agree. But you will play it if you take a time machine back to like one specific tournament.
Maybe. Yeah. Was Time Spiral block maybe?
Yeah, it was Time Spiral block.
Shrewd Hatchling.
Oh, wow.
This card is super powerful. I know it may not, it's got a bunch of like weird things going on with it. But it's super good. It gets really crazy huge, really crazy fast. Like, yes, it started out as a 4-mana 2/2, but it only takes a spell or two to get rid of it. And note, if you play a blue-red spell, like Electrolyze, you take 2 counters off of it because it's a blue spell and a red spell. Yeah. And whenever you play either of those, you get a counter off of it. And when you play one that has both of those colors, you take 2 off of it. Card's very powerful. Yeah,
the steady progress. That my favorite thing to do would to actually my opponent plays that and you steady progress, untap steady progress, kill it.
Nice.
That's some value.
That is value. Yeah. Good luck with that. Right, because when you don't do that, they're going to kill you with this guy.
I remember dying to this guy many times.
Yeah, this card crushed people. Yeah. This card was sweet. I love all the weird eventide, countery, shrewd hatchling type cards. Sigil Blessing, woot woot.
This card was common, right? I think it was common. Maybe it was uncommon.
This was shards, right?
It was shards.
Or maybe Conflux. Probably shards.
It was in shards block, but it was busted. And this card is still busted, and it's so good in green-white. And like when we get to like Scatter the Seeds and all these token generators that you can have in green-white, and then all of a sudden you realize that you make one big that they blocked, and then all the blocks. It's so hard to play around. Like, like if you attack with like 5 creatures, your opponent has to have the perfect power and toughness to not have this card blow them out.
Yeah, and they don't.
It's like Dramoka's commands, like, first.
It's the first sort of Dramoka's command. It's before they
always
kept
2-for-1s people.
Yeah, you're going to 2-for-1, no question. You're going to end games with this card. It's the perfect card to play in those kind of green-white token strategies we're going to get into with green. But yeah, it's very, very good. Yeah. If you're in these colors, play it always. Pick it early.
It's very often like all these cards.
God, I mean, again, and what we're sort of seeing is all this kind of synergy kind of coming together.
Oh wow!
Swans of Bryn Argyle had a really weird combo-y type deck with what was that?
Seismic
Assault. Thank you.
It was a deck that had cascade spells that could cascade into Swans and Seismic Assault.
Right.
And it played like 43 lands or 44 lands, and you would just Seismic Assault the Swan and keep drawing until you had like 11 lands to just shoot them.
Yeah, to just kill your opponent with it. Because Seismic Assault said you can discard a land and deal 2 damage to target creature or player. You would deal with the Swans, draw 2, deal 2 more to the Swans, draw 2, and all you're drawing is lands. You eventually draw enough lands, so they're just dead.
Yeah, it was a sweet combo deck, but in Limited, the card is really, really, really busted because, yes, they could block and draw some cards from it, but that means that they paid mana to put something in front of it to go. But like you could also do things like Lightning Bolt your own guy to draw 3, or Savage Twister for like 6 to blow up the board and draw 6. Like it's a really busted card, and your opponent can get value out of it too. But at the end of the day, the 4/3, no matter how many cards they drew,
just a
trumped the board.
4-mana 4/3 flyer for 4.
That just couldn't die to burn spells.
Yeah, it just can't. So like as a result, they need to like Nameless Inversion it or something. Like card is very good and can take over the game, allows your burn spells to be draw spells. Like, all right, well, if the worst I'm going to do with this Lightning Bolt is Ancestral Recall, okay.
No.
I'm all right with that. Card is super, super good. If you're in either of these colors, you want to play it every single time because, again, at the end of the day, if it's nothing but a 4-mana 4/3 flyer on turn 4.
Also, what creature type is it?
It's Devouring Greedy.
Yeah.
They're
They
gonna catch
just
you
brought
Devouring
all
Greedy.
these spirits for the Devouring Greed, but also all the Soul Shift.
The Soul Shift stuff, yeah.
They made so many rare
Oh.
and uncommon powerful spirits.
When they finally they finally kill it in however the ways they do, and then you play your Scuttling Death and like give something -1/-1 and get back your Swans. That's a good feeling. That's good times. Vengeful Rebirth, man, this card ended a lot of games.
Yeah.
A lot. Oh, I guess I'll just, return this awesome spell that cost 5 and 5.
Yeah.
Your face or your best creature. This card is very, very good. It's always playable in green-red.
Well, they don't have that much removal, and this card can just like do so many powerful things.
Yeah, you're getting back any card from your graveyard. It is super good. You don't want a ton of them, but if you're in any sort of like green-red aggro or green-red ramp deck rather, where you're going to have big casting cost spells like.
Or if you're just in a deck that can cast green or red spells.
If you can get to 6, if you can get to 6, man, this card is
value.
Is value town. Wilt Leaf Leaves. Woo!
The new Kibler card.
Yeah.
Kibler just keeps playing with this card and everything.
God, I love this card. I always loved this card. I enjoyed it back in the day. It was super cool. Sometimes you would get them with Thoughtseize or whatever when this was their only choice, but normally it was just like a great creature for a 4-mana 4/4.
Yeah, and I mean you just play it, you pump your team, attack. It's extremely powerful.
You can see with like Selesnya, Guildmage, and this, and all the token producers running it through in green. There's definitely a green-white like a bunch of dudes deck, and a green-white pump all of your team and like kind of work together in this green-white shell, and that's sort of what we're seeing here on the latter half of the gold cards.
Yeah, and it's just a 4/4 for 4 at the end of the day too. So even if you don't have any creatures that you killed them all, this guy's gonna, or this girl, excuse me, is still gonna just beat everyone.
Get it right, dude.
I'm sorry, I've got something in my throat.
Yeah, it's called a mistake.
I shouldn't have done this videos. I knew I shouldn't have.
I see how it is. Wrecking Ball.
And how did you come in?
Just like this card.
Yeah, just like this card.
See, now you can make a musical reference that I also get that we can play along with and enjoy. And instead, you're going to tell me that Tom Petty's bad and I'm going to hurt you.
I didn't say bad. I just said irrelevant. Oh my god. I'm gonna get some hate from that, aren't I?
Dude, man, the Wildflowers album, dude. If you're out there and you haven't heard Tom Petty's Wildflowers, that album just like it impacted my life. Anyway, Wrecking Ball is a card that it really, if it was 3 mana, it would be too good, and at 4 mana, it just never really worked out.
It was fine. It was
okay.
good and limited. It was never a constructed card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would be a constructed
Oh.
all-star at 3 mana.
Yeah, because it would kill creatures and stone rain them.
Yes, and it would be insane.
Of course.
At instant speed.
You should not design magic cards.
I didn't say I'm trying to design it. I'm just saying that like that was what kept it out as constructed. It was just 1 mana too much for constructed, but if it was that 3 mana, it would be too good.
You just want so many cards in constructed. You're like, everything should just cost 1 less wizard. That's all we need.
If we just put it back, it'd be okay.
You should actually get a free mana from...
Well, I mean, this is what they kind of always say, is that Stone Rain is perfect at 3.5 mana. But you can't have 0.5 mana. But at 3.5, it's perfect. And if we could actually get half mana in Magic, and this was 3.5 mana, it would be fantastic. But
I don't want to hear the backlash of 3.5 mana, and people are like, Magic's dead.
We're never going to do anything again. It doesn't matter, because in Limited, this card is fantastic, and you're always going to play it in that combination. This is the card you want in Black-Red Aggro. I mean, it just answers whatever. And,
and if you just like 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and they don't play enough spells, you can just kill their land to keep them from doing something again next turn.
Exactly. Or you can see them kind of relying on that one color. Man, they've been relying on that forest a lot. And on turn 4, I'm just going to kill your forest so I can just keep getting in, so you can't play your big monsters in green. So yeah, there's just infinite play for this in Limited, and it doesn't matter if it didn't get there in Constructed, because this is a card you want in your deck.
Oh, it's so great. That's the last.
That's the last gold card.
Z's?
No Z's, brah. Because there's no sleep till Brooklyn.
I don't get it.
God, really?
No, I do get that one.
Okay, thank you. Man,
what was
don't
that?
mess with me.
What was that? Blink-182?
Oh, you're trolling me now, right? Yeah. Okay. No. Don't do that to me, Brad. Don't start. Seriously, guys, thank you very much for watching us go through all of the red cards and the rest of the multicolor cards. We will be right back with all of the green cards and all the lands. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin.
Brad Nelson.
Tapping the cards.
So you don't have to.
You got it.